Hello! Today I'm starting 30 days of videos. So I'm going to start out, I'm about to get on my bike, I'm going to be on the R3 because even though I've ridden the R3 a little bit, since I've gotten my 600, I want to sit down and talk through the differences I feel getting back on a 300 and riding around for a while. So I'll see you on the bike.
Hello! So, what is it like being back on the R3 after having ridden my 600 so much more lately? I've been on and off it, but like I said in the intro, I want to kind of talk through as I'm riding the differences I feel. So let's get into it. The first thing I notice is this bike feels so upright now. It's so much more comfortable of a seating position than the Gixxer. And I didn't expect that because when I wasn't riding another bike, this is all I knew, and it felt a little bit aggressive. But now that I sit on it after being on a 600, I'm like, wow, I'm so upright, I'm so comfy. And that kind of took me by surprise. Let's see, the clutch. The clutch is so much easier to pull, and maybe this one is just more broken in, but it's so like squishy and friendly. The 600 clutch feels much more aggressive, both in the effort it takes to pull and the grabbiness. And granted, this thing almost has 15,000 miles on this clutch, so it's more worn in, and I missed a shift there, which brings me to the next point. This gearbox feels much more, I say broken in, maybe at 15,000 miles it's starting to show a little wear. I don't really know the lifespan of any given motorcycle gearbox, but that's something I've noticed as well, is that especially going from third to fourth, it feels like I really have to make sure I jam it up in there to get into fourth. It's also different seeing a gas gauge down there too. I'm starting to get used to just looking out for that low fuel light and monitoring my trips. I've gotten into the habit of grabbing using all my fingers for the clutch, because on my Gixxer, I kind of got into the habit because the compensation for like the engine RPM increasing when you release the clutch kind of threw me off, and I thought it was still engaged when I just held it with two fingers. The clutch also engages much later in the movement, so seeing where it engages here, it engages right about there. That's a lot of space. Compared to my 600, it engages much sooner. Sometimes. And I think some of the difficulty with the shifting comes from, right now my foot is so flat, and on the Gixxer it like angles much more down towards the road, so my foot is much more tucked in, it seems, behind the shifter, and so the bustle movement I use on the Gixxer is a little bit more subtle than on this, because it's like I have to use a greater range of motion to get to it. And that's, I mean, in part because of the adjustment, but just something to think about with foot position. I'm also shifting much more. On the 600, I can just kind of live in third gear, but with this, I really have to kind of stay in the power band on any given gear, hitting a lot of neutrals. So the power difference is obvious, but this bike, after riding the 600, this bike feels so playful and light. Like it feels like a bicycle, almost. Because the Gixxer, it's like 30 or 40 pounds heavier, I think. And it's wider, and it's just got more going on. And after riding that, this feels so lighthearted. And like, it's just happy to be here. It's not gonna go anywhere too quick. And like I can, like, not a whole lot going on, but it's nice. It's not really a bad thing. Now, Is this less comfortable on the interstate than a 600? Yes. I kind of feel like I have to wring it out on the interstate. But on roads like this, it's so pleasant because it's not too much power. You don't have to worry about whiskey throttling it through a corner. It's light, it's playful, it's just happy to be here. And I think that's the draw to a lot of like smaller CC motorcycles, is that you don't have to worry about power management. As long as you're staying off the interstate, they're fantastic all-around bikes. And it's zippy. It's not slow. I think it's because the gear ratios in like first and second gear give you that like a little bit of oomph that makes it exciting, but it just feels so playful. And I love that about the R3, because even though people say like, upgrade, get a 600, the go fast machine, and yes, I am very grateful that the 600 can handle highway speeds much better. But if I were someone who never went on the interstate, I don't know that I would get a 600. But I do get on the interstate for a lot of places I go. But it goes back to, in a previous video, I talked about, wow, check out this scenery, man. Amazing. But yeah, in a previous video, I talked about how you should think about your geography and let that kind of dictate what motorcycle you get. Because like a 1000 on roads like this, I don't see it being... I feel like it would be too stressful. Like, at least like from a cost perspective and whatnot, if you want to have fun on like back roads like this, get a 300. Or even, maybe even less. I don't have experience with like 125 cc's, but I really want to ride a Super Cub. Those are so cool to me. Yeah, it's just playful. And it's got plenty of power for the back roads. I run into my shift light a lot sooner on this one. And yeah, we can talk about that. So this red line's at about 12.5K. And my 600 red line's at like above 15K. So, and this isn't quite as smooth. As light and as playful as the R3 like feels now, it's light. So when it comes to wind or bumps in the road, I definitely feel a difference in the, where did that come from? In the suspension. The Gixxer suspension feels a little bit more premium, as I would expect. And along with that, this is a smaller engine, so it's working harder. It's buzzy. It's only got 2 cylinders doing all that work, so it, like I've mentioned before, the Gixxer has this hum. Like a 600 has just this, and the R3 is more of that, and you feel that translates into the seat and into your body. So when it comes to like comfort in that way, it's not big, but it is a little bit more buzzy, like through the hand and through the feet and the seat and whatnot. As far as fuel goes, this gas tank is smaller by like, think about a gallon, but it almost feels like it feels like I refill the Gixxer more. But that's, I think, just because I don't know how much fuel is in the tank at any given time. So that makes me be like extra cautious. Maybe it's about the same, because the Gixxer gets less fuel, like less mileage. Like when I was breaking it in, I think I was making, it was getting around 40, maybe a little more. But now that I'm actually riding it post break-in, and I'm keeping it in the power band with higher revs on a normal basis, I am getting like 30, I'll say 33, 34 miles per gallon. So gas mileage on the Gixxer is a little bit less, which can be expected. Being light, it's easier to park. This is easier to like wheel backwards, and part of that is the seat height is a little bit lower. So I can flat foot this much easier than I can my 600. It is a little bit more windy, I'd say, because, like I said earlier, it's a much more upright position, but you still have this windscreen, so it's not like a naked bike. That's something else, because when you're on a 600, you're so crouched down, the wind kind of hits me like at the chin on the 600, but on this one it's hitting me about mid-neck. Oil change intervals on this are 3,000 miles, and I think on the 600 they're 35,000 or 3,500 miles, so a little bit more extended on the Gixxer. I was also looking at the tire pressures, which was interesting because these tires take, I think it's 29 in the front and 36 in the back PSI. On the 600, those pressures are higher. I think one is like, it's like 3642 or something. I can't remember off the top of my head. And those tires are much bigger. Tire longevity, also, I would expect that the longevity of the tires you have on the R3 are going to last longer. One, because it's less weight, and two, because it's not as much power delivery. On the 600, you've got enough power to break traction and kind of wear the tire much quicker. But on the 300, there's not so much power for that tire to get worn. So yeah, I'll wrap it up here. Thanks for watching. I hope this was informative for any of you who either have 600s and are thinking of going smaller, or maybe you don't have a bike and you're looking for a comparison. I hope this helps you kind of gain more of an understanding of the differences, because I know not everybody can jump on a bike back to back of a different size and feel the differences, and I know that can be frustrating when you're trying to figure out what first bike you should get or whether you should switch to a different bike. Puddles! Alright, that's gonna do it for this video. Thanks a lot for watching. Let me know what you thought in the comments. Like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.